Training the will is a journey that asks us to look deeply at the forces that shape our choices, our habits, and our destinies. It is not merely a matter of asserting discipline over fleeting desires, but rather a process of forging within ourselves a resilient, conscious capacity to choose and to follow through on those choices, even in the face of challenge or discomfort. The will is often described as the faculty that enables us to act deliberately, to persist in our aims, and to bring intention to reality. As such, training the will is one of the most profound undertakings we can pursue, for it sets the foundation upon which all personal growth, achievement, and integrity rest. The first realization in training the will is understanding what the will truly is. It is not a brute force that simply pushes us through adversity, nor is it a simple resolve that comes and goes with the tides of motivation. Rather, the will is like a muscle. It grows stronger with use, and it must be nurtured, exercised, and cared for. Just as physical muscles require regular exertion, lifting, stretching, and challenging to grow, the will must also be engaged in a variety of ways to develop its strength and flexibility. This engagement happens through the choices we make every day, both large and small. Let us begin by considering the role of habits in the training of the will. Habits are the grooves worn into our minds and behaviors by repeated action. They can serve as the scaffolding that supports the exercise of will, or as the chains that bind us to patterns we wish to escape. Training the will begins with becoming aware of our habits, for awareness is the first step toward change. To observe ourselves in action without judgment, but with curiosity, and to notice where our habits support our goals and where they undermine them is a vital skill. But this self-observation allows us to identify the moments where our will is called upon. The instant before we reach for a sugary snack, the pause before we speak in anger, the hesitation before we begin a difficult task. Once we have cultivated awareness, the next step is to practice making conscious choices in these moments. The exercise of will does not begin with grand gestures, but with small, everyday decisions. For example, deciding to take a brisk walk rather than scrolling through social media, choosing to drink water instead of soda, or setting aside 10 minutes each morning for quiet reflection. These seemingly small choices are the building blocks of willpower. Each time we choose in alignment with our deeper intentions, rather than succumbing to impulse, we strengthen the neural pathways associated with self-control and discipline. It is important to recognize that the will is not only about saying no to temptation, it is equally about saying yes to our values and priorities. The will is the force that enables us to pursue what is meaningful, even when it is difficult. It is what allows a student to persist in studying for an exam, an artist to continue working on a piece through frustration, or a parent to respond with patience to a child in the midst of chaos. In these moments, the will is not a harsh taskmaster, but a guiding hand, a reminder of who we wish to become. To effectively train the will, we must also understand the role of motivation and emotion. Motivation is often the spark that initiates action, but it is notoriously unreliable. Sometimes we feel inspired and driven. Other times, we are listless and unmotivated. The will steps in when motivation falters. It is the bridge between intention and action, the force that carries us from what we want to do to what we actually do. However, the will is not immune to emotion. Negative emotions, such as frustration, boredom, or anxiety can sap our willpower. Positive emotions such as hope and enthusiasm can bolster it. Therefore, part of training the will is learning to manage our emotional state, to cultivate resilience in the face of discomfort, and to nurture positivity where possible. Several strategies can support the training of the will. One of the most effective is the practice of setting clear, specific goals. Vague intentions, such as "I want to be healthier" or "I should work harder," do not provide the clarity the will requires. Instead, we must define our aims in tangible terms. "I will walk for 30 minutes each day," or "I will write 500 words before lunch." Clear goals allow the will to focus, to measure progress, and to celebrate success. They also make it easier to notice when we are veering off course and to gently bring ourselves back. Another vital strategy is to break large tasks into smaller, manageable steps. The will is more easily engaged when the path forward feels achievable. Faced with a daunting project, we can become overwhelmed and paralyzed. By dividing the project into bite-sized actions, we give ourselves the opportunity to build momentum. Each small victory strengthens the will, creating a positive feedback loop. Achievement breeds confidence, and confidence fuels further effort. Accountability is also a powerful tool in training the will. Sharing our goals with others, seeking support, and committing publicly can increase our resolve. When we know that others are aware of our intentions, we are more likely to persevere. Accountability can take many forms: a workout partner, a writing group, a mentor, or a simple agreement with a friend. The external support does not replace the will, but it helps to reinforce it, especially in moments of doubt. A crucial aspect of will training is the management of energy. The will is not an inexhaustible resource. It can be depleted by stress, fatigue, and overcommitment. Therefore, self-care is essential. Regular sleep, nutritious food, physical exercise, and periods of rest all contribute to the replenishment of willpower. When we neglect these foundations, our ability to exercise will diminishes. Conversely, when we nurture our bodies and minds, the will grows more resilient. One of the most challenging elements in the training of the will is the encounter with failure. Inevitably, there will be moments when we fall short of our intentions, when we give in to temptation, abandon a goal, or act contrary to our values. These moments are not evidence of weakness, but of humanity. The key is not to berate ourselves, but to respond with compassion and curiosity. What led to the lapse? Was it fatigue, stress, lack of planning, or something else? By examining our failures without judgment, we learn valuable lessons that strengthen our will for the future. In addition to practical strategies, training the will can be supported by cultivating certain attitudes and perspectives. One of these is the recognition of the long view. The will is often most challenged in the pursuit of long-term goals, the kind that require sustained effort over weeks, months, or years. It is easy to become discouraged by slow progress or setbacks. By shifting our perspective to embrace patience and persistence, we remind ourselves that meaningful change takes time. Each day offers an opportunity to renew our commitment, to make small choices that add up to transformation. Mindfulness is another attitude that supports the training of the will. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment with openness and curiosity. When we are mindful, we notice the urges, impulses and emotions that arise, and we create space between stimulus and response. This space is where the will operates. It allows us to pause, reflect, and choose deliberately rather than reacting automatically. Through regular mindfulness practice, such as meditation, journaling, or simply taking a few deep breaths, we strengthen our capacity to act with intention. Purpose is the final ingredient in the training of the will. When our actions are connected to a deeper sense of meaning, when we know why we are pursuing a goal, the will becomes more robust. Purpose provides direction, motivation, and resilience. It transforms effort into devotion, discipline into joy. To cultivate purpose, we must reflect on our values. What truly matters to us? What kind of person do we wish to become? How do our daily actions align with these aspirations? When we are clear about our purpose, the will is no longer a struggle, but a celebration of our deepest commitments. Let us now explore some common scenarios in which the training of the will can be applied. Consider the individual who wishes to adopt a healthier lifestyle. The initial spark may come from a desire to feel better, to lose weight, or to prevent illness. The will is called upon each time a choice arises. What to eat, whether to exercise, how to respond to stress. In the beginning, the will may feel weak. Old habits exert a powerful pull. But with each conscious choice, the will grows stronger. Over time, healthy behaviors become habitual, and the effort required diminishes. The individual experiences not only physical transformation, but a deepened sense of self-efficacy. The belief that one can shape one's destiny through deliberate action. Or consider the artist striving to create. Inspiration may wax and wane. The creative process is often fraught with doubt, frustration, and fear of failure. The will is the force that enables the artist to sit at the canvas, open the notebook, or pick up the instrument, even when motivation is absent. Through persistent effort, the artist hones their craft, discovers new capacities, and brings forth beauty from chaos. The discipline of creation becomes a source of joy and fulfillment, a testament to the power of the will. In the realm of relationships, the will is equally vital. To cultivate compassion, patience, and understanding requires conscious choice. It is easy to react with anger or impatience. It is harder to pause, reflect, and respond with kindness. The will allows us to choose forgiveness over resentment, listening over judgment, and generosity over selfishness. In doing so, we forge deeper connections and contribute to the well-being of those we love. The process of training the will is not a solitary endeavor. Throughout history, humans have sought guidance from mentors, teachers, and spiritual traditions. These sources offer wisdom, encouragement, and perspective. Whether through meditation, prayer, study, or service, individuals have found ways to strengthen their will in the pursuit of personal growth, ethical living, and transcendence. The cultivation of will is a universal challenge, shared across cultures and generations. It is also important to recognize that the will is not static. It fluctuates in response to context, circumstance, and experience. There will be days when the will feels strong and unshakable, and days when it is fragile and uncertain. This variability is natural. What matters is the commitment to return again and again to the practice of conscious choice. Each moment offers a new opportunity to exercise the will, to align our actions with our intentions and to shape our lives with purpose. In summary, training the will is a lifelong journey of self-discovery, growth, and empowerment. It begins with awareness, observing our habits, impulses, and choices without judgment. It is strengthened through deliberate action, making small, conscious choices that align with our values and goals. It is supported by clear aims, manageable steps, accountability, and self-care. It is sustained by resilience in the face of failure, patience in the pursuit of long-term goals, and mindfulness in the present moment. Above all, it is fueled by purpose, a sense of meaning that transforms effort into fulfillment. The rewards of training the will are profound. We gain not only the capacity to achieve our goals, but also the freedom to shape our lives according to our deepest values. We experience greater self-respect, confidence, and integrity. We become more resilient in the face of adversity, more compassionate in our relationships, and more creative in our endeavors. The will is the foundation upon which all personal growth rests. It is the key to unlocking our potential and living with intention. As you reflect on your own journey, consider where your will is strongest and where it might be strengthened. Notice the moments of choice in your day, the pauses, the hesitations, the opportunities to align action with intention. Celebrate your successes, learn from your setbacks, and renew your commitment to conscious living. Remember that training the will is not about perfection, but about progress. It is not a destination, but a path. With each step, you grow stronger, more capable, and more alive. In the grand tapestry of life, the will is the thread that weaves intention into reality. It is the silent force that carries us through hardship, the quiet courage that enables us to begin anew, and the enduring hope that we can shape our destiny through mindful choice. By training the will, we honor the profound power within us. The power to create, to transform, and to become.